Okay, hi Bunker Labs. Welcome to the All In Town Hall because we are all in for you and for your entrepreneurship journey. So we are hoping that over the coming weeks, these town halls will be helpful for you to continue to move your business forward and to be inspired, equipped, and connected to one another. So I am happy to welcome our interim Bunker Labs CEO, Blake Hogan, who will be leading this session. So welcome, Blake. Thanks for being here.
All right, Liz, thank you. Thank you to everybody out there. So we are, like Liz said, going all in to tell your stories, to provide tools and resources. So this is about you and your journey. I think as we are moving through this challenge, we wanted to set a tone of being positive and being forward thinking. And you, the military connected community, are uniquely prepared to deal with these challenges, understand what it's like to be entrepreneurs, or you're comfortable being uncomfortable. So this is an opportunity to hear from folks that are in the community, that are doing things, that have been through crises in the past. So the chat is open, so you can be submitting questions throughout. Liz will moderate or we'll forward those over. And if you see the green square, you'll see our clandestine first town hall participant. So Colonel Frank Coppersmith, U.S. Air Force, has actually been activated and is in Austin, Texas. And so therefore he is on the phone in uniform. So don't tell the Pentagon or DOD, okay? He's sneaking off to do this, but he's an attorney, so he found the right regs. Everything's good, but we can't show his beautiful mug here. But just know that he's there. Frank, can you please, I'm going to turn it over to you and introduce yourself, and then we're going to get into this and hear how you've been through some of these challenges in the past. And if you would, share a little bit about the current activation right now and what you are doing to help combat this challenge.
Sure. Blake, thanks so much. So I'm excited to have a chance to come and speak to all of you today. Congratulations to all of you for starting or working on your entrepreneurial journey. Of course, the timing maybe could have been a little better, especially if you're just getting started. That said, it's always a good time to be starting as an entrepreneur. So again, congratulations. So as Blake said, I'm Frank Coppersmith. I am the CEO of Smarter Reality. We are a software company that helps businesses build custom software across a wide variety of use cases, everything from software as a service inside the organization to consumer-facing mobile and web products. We do this mostly out of our studio in Argentina, where we have most of our development done, and then we do all of our design here in Austin. So that's us, and we love working with entrepreneurs and small and medium businesses of all kinds. From an activation standpoint, I came in probably about 2 weeks ago now and for those of you who are reservists, you'll know what this is, just kind of my annual tour, my 2-week tour here in the office at Randolph Air Force Base. I am the senior reserve attorney to Air Education Training Command, one of Air Force's major commands, and it was supposed to be a quiet 2 weeks with everyone, including all the commanders out. Good time for me to just kind of sit back and enjoy my time. That's, of course, not what I got. What we got was, of course, COVID-19 and the escalating challenges faced by that. So where we are now is I'm kind of on continuing duty. My annual tour expires today, except my duty does not. And I've been extended here, for right now at least, fairly indefinitely. The reason for that, of course, is we are at the forefront of some of the responses. Here at Joint Base San Antonio is where many of the evacuees from Wuhan have come from the State Department. We've got folks coming in from cruise ships. We've got other folks who need to go through that 14-day quarantine before they can kind of be released back out into the population at large. That's created lots of interesting community challenges. Mayor wasn't a huge fan of that, as you could only imagine what the mayor of San Antonio might think. And of course, that is not entirely our job to manage, but certainly becomes an interesting challenge of communication, community relationships, and operations. So that's what we're doing. We are working 24/7, managing all this, lots of things changing, lots of lots of conditions changing on a regular basis. And of course, we're just doing what we do, which is, respond and lead. So Blake, I'll turn it back to you, and then we get started with the rest of the discussion.
Yeah, Frank, thank you. We're sending Red Bull your way so that you can do this. I think, you said something that is unique to this community. So you said the tour ends a day, but the challenge doesn't. So you're staying in the fight to help. And I think that is something that sets the entrepreneur mindset, sets people that have that mindset up for success as entrepreneurs. So transitioning into that conversation, you've been through these challenges before. And I think that's the important part of this conversation, is for folks to know, zoom out, don't get sucked into cable news, understand that, yes, these are real challenges. However, we have been through things in the past, whether it was the Spanish flu, World War II, the financial crisis, 9/11, these things have happened. And if history is a teacher, we can respond and rebound quickly. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about the Challenge Online Games company that you were with, venture-backed, premier name venture capital company, 08. Talk to us a little bit about that, and then we'll go from there. And if you want to kind of phrase, the answers around the broad theme here is what did you keep, start, and stop doing? So kind of look at that as your frame of reference. But so it's 2008. You're at Challenge Online Games. You're a CFO, and financial crisis hits. So talk to us about your team's response.
Sure. So I don't know how much people here remember about the 2007-2008 crisis. If you go back to it, it was caused by just an issue of mortgages and how they were securitized, and a misunderstanding of a disconnect between how they were priced and the risk they actually bore. The reason that matters, the reason that's important, is because that meant it was something very deep inside the financial system. And we're going to talk about why COVID's different and why COVID's a lot more like 9/11 in a minute. But it was deep inside the financial system. And when it started to come loose, it shook the financial system to its core. Banks stopped lending to each other because they could no longer trust the collateralized securities. And when that happened, obviously things went south pretty quickly. I was there at Challenge Games. Our big idea was to take the speed and low cost of web development at the time and bring it to AAA high-end console level gaming. So good idea. Our co-founder there, really the guy that got it started, what came out of many successful web-based platforms and products. So in 2008, in September, I'd been with the company about 2 weeks. I was the chief financial officer there. And we had the infamous teleconference. And if you were in California, you had the actual infamous meeting with Sequoia Capital. For those of you who don't know, Sequoia is the preeminent venture capital firm in the United States. If there's a company worth investing in, they're probably the lead. And they published what is described as just infamous Rip Good Times. It was a presentation where they took a hard look at what was happening. They decided that the market was basically going to seize up. The money you had was all the money you were ever going to get. And you needed to, if you were going to survive this downturn, you needed to stop spending money immediately. My most vivid memory of that, watching that on a teleconference and listening to it on the phone, was one of the Sequoia Capital partners jumping up and down the stage shouting, do they generate revenue for your business? They don't? Fire them. Financial person? Fire them. HR? Fire them. Contracts? Fire them. Lawyer? Fire them. Well, that's a little awkward when you're the new CFO and most of those people that got named report to you, and the CEO just kind of looks at you. That's an interesting moment. At the end of the day, we made some choices that weren't quite like that. We said, no, we think we believe in our strategy, even in the face of this kind of feedback from Sequoia. The reason that's interesting to all of you is there's a new Sequoia letter out. This is the second time they have done it. It's been 12 years, and they felt that the COVID-19 virus is worthy of another message out to their fund, the firms in their fund, as well as to the public. And it's fascinating that after all the things that we've seen in 12 years, this is the next one. This COVID-19 is the next one that they think has the biggest impact. So Blake, I'm going to turn it over to you, and we can dive into some other questions if you like.
Yeah, great. So now you exited that company in 2010, correct? So tell us a little bit about how you were able to one, stay the course, and two, turn that into a profitable company.
Yeah. So our big idea, of course, was to build these games on the web and have the fidelity of a AAA title. And we saw some reasonable growth. Each game we launched was bigger than the game before, but we were not seeing the hockey stick that we were looking for. And then a little product launch that you guys may have heard of. It's called Facebook. And we realized there was gaming on Facebook. And in a course of about 2 months, we took the entire company's game portfolio and moved it from the web to Facebook. And that required us to redesign all the games, re-architect them, restructure them, build new financial and sales systems. But in doing so, we were able to effectively get to Facebook about the same time Zynga did. And of course, that was the time when viral spread was easy, and we took advantage of that. And in short order, we took not one, not two, but 3 games to the top of the apps of their store, to the top of effectively their rankings. After that, when that third one hit, we got a call from the folks at Zynga, and they wanted to acquire us. And so that's basically, we stuck to our strategy up until the time we realized it was never going to get us where we needed to be. We took a hard look at some of the options we might have. We bet all in on Facebook. Blake?
Yeah, and that's great, Frank. Thanks for sharing. I mean, I think that's something that the military community understands, that no plan survives first contact with the enemy. So you've got this beautiful strategy, put it in place, tested it, but then had foresight, humility, call it what you will, but to be able to pivot from the web and put it on Facebook, and two years later you exited. So if it's all right, I'd love to switch over to DuPont and 9/11. And then let's hit smarter reality and what you're doing now, and then
Gotcha.
what you're currently doing within smarter reality to be able to respond and rebound.
Got it. So at DuPont, back on 9/11, I was the factory production manager for our factory in California. You think about it, we had kind of entered a little bit of a slowdown after the Y2K bug that had driven a lot of sales. At the time, we were that factory was building product for the semiconductor industry. And 9/11 happened, and a lot of things took place in rapid succession. The first, my application for the Air Force Reserves, which had lingered for almost a year, was approved that week, which I thought was interesting. Imagine how that occurred.
Right.
At the same time, all of our customers, almost exclusively all of our customers, went through their book of pending orders and canceled them. All of them. Everything. We went from a factory that was basically on allotment because we didn't have enough capacity to build everything that our customers requested, and so they had to kind of bid. We actually kind of auctioned the allotment off, which was very nice. To suddenly parts of the plant sitting empty because everyone had just basically canceled. Why did they cancel? What happened so fast? Well, you see, when 9/11 happened, when everything kind of shut down, everyone was able to look a little bit ahead to the expectation of lower sales at Christmas, lower sales at Thanksgiving, maybe a year or two of lower sales, a whole host of downturns, and they all were like, well, we already have enough, so we're going to pull the plug. And that's probably a little bit like what we're looking at today with COVID. A little bit more of that's what I think people are retrenching to do. What's interesting, though, is that the 9/11 downturn was very sharp and came back very quickly. The downturn lasted maybe 7 or 8 months for us. We had to do some very aggressive cost cutting. We had to let a lot of people go. We got rid of some unprofitable manufacturing lines. But by the end of 2002, we were back to cash flow positive and really back into growth mode again. And I think so if you take kind of what we're seeing with COVID, I really think COVID is more of a 9/11 event than a 2008 event. 2008 was structured liquidity issues in the market that just undercut basically the ability of businesses to buy and sell. 9/11, more of a psychological hit. People just were like, oh my gosh, things have gone bad. I have to stop spending money. And I think when we think about what COVID is, I think COVID looks much more like 9/11 than it does 2008. And that's really good for all of us, because it means once we're kind of through this crisis, once the vaccine is developed, once we find out that some of those malaria drugs have some effect, once we get a real good handle on what the lethality is, right? Because I think we know it spreads pretty fast. We don't know how lethal it may or may not be. And that's really what's got everybody concerned. Once we get to the bottom of all that and we understand it, we get our hands around it, I think we'll see the economy kind of come roaring back. Anyway, Blake, back to you.
Yeah, and that's great. And that's great perspective. I think it's important for people to understand that, not all crises are the same, and that, this is not a financial crisis in terms of its origin. So there is an opportunity for markets to flow pending people's psychology. So I'd love to hit smarter reality. So for those of folks that have joined and weren't on when we started, so Frank is currently in the 2019 Bravo Veterans and Residents cohort in Austin, Texas, our partnership with WeWork, with a company called Smarter Reality. So Frank, if you could tell folks a little bit about Smarter Reality, and then let's quickly hit what you're going to keep doing, stop doing, and start doing, and then we'll open it up for questions to the audience. And pending questions, I can always I've got a lot more. So tell us about Smarter Reality, please, and you're in this with all the other veterans and residents cohort as well. So if there are any of you listening, we're glad to have you, and know that here's one of your teammates.
Awesome. Well, Blake, thanks so much for that. So a little bit about Smarter Reality. We build, as I mentioned before, custom software for clients. And so that's a really interesting sales cycle for us. We spend a lot of time learning about customer requirements, and our customers range the gamut from, I would say, good size, kind of mid-size kind of companies, but all the way down to really entrepreneurs who are funding their idea with their savings. So that requires us to do a lot of customized work up front. So we have this fairly long sales cycle as we look to try to figure out what your needs are. Obviously, we're building a mobile app for an entrepreneur. That's different than, say, a SaaS solution for a mid-size, hospice company, or a website for someone who wants to do a dual-sided marketplace because they want to sell on the web. So all of that, this long cycle, and we've never quite figured out how to tighten that cycle up. So that's one of our kind of big challenges, probably because so many of our outputs are so custom. I think it's one of our advantages is that we are able to customize a deliverable for the client. If you need a full turnkey solution, got it. Some people just need design. They just need some concept art because they're going to go raise money. And so they just need that first step, right? They need to know, hey, this is how much it's going to cost, and this is what it's going to look like. And then they go out and hopefully have their successful round. And then we've got people in between who already maybe have a product that just need to add a mobile app to it, or they want a better website, or whatever it is that they need. So anyway, that's what we do. The challenge is when I look at what's coming up, what's coming kind of towards us, for me, I've got a couple things I need to make sure I'm doing. Clearly the most important is cash management. No question. This is where I'm going to put all of my time. If I'm not selling, I'm watching the cash. And that means I've got to do two things. I've got to slow down paying my vendors, and I've got to get the people who owe me money to pay me faster. Of course, the challenge in this market is everybody's doing the same thing. All my vendors are telling me, right, you need that money a little quicker. But it gives you some interesting opportunities to get creative and to get smart. So if you need a little time on an invoice, what can you talk to a vendor about around, well, okay, give me a little time on this, but I'm in a position to give you some more business. I'm really interested in that with my customers. So well, let's get some contracts signed. I like seeing new statements of work. That's really good. If you need a little time on these invoices, let's get some more work booked and get moving. Maybe do some kind of partial payment. The flip side on the bills that I pay, I'll go to folks and say, give me a little more time. Let's come up with a payment plan. And in exchange, I've got some more. I'm going to have some more business for you down the road. But everybody's doing that. So it's cost management. Be careful about the new costs you're adding in. It's about pushing out your suppliers. It's about collecting that money as fast as you can. Why am I doing that? Because without liquidity, this is a liquidity risk, right? Without liquidity, you're out of business. And this is a market where we don't know what liquidity is going to look like. I tend to think with the government that we're going to see plenty of opportunities for low cost, zero interest SBA loans, but don't expect them to come fast. It's going to take time. I think you'll find banks are getting some relief from some of their financial controls so that they can allow you to go interest only on certain debts. Mm-hmm. But again, a lot of that still has to flow through. So that's the first, I think, most important piece. I think the other piece, though, is really more psychological, because you've got this team of employees, or even if you're the sole employee, how are you keeping them from, colloquially to say, just from freaking out? I've seen some emails that some people have sent to their employees. People forward to me. You've got to be careful with the things you say. You've got to be careful on because everyone is worried. Everyone thinks they're going to lose their job. Everyone thinks they're going to lose their job. And so how are you going to manage that communication with an employee and even contractors who maybe count on your contract? How are you going to manage that, especially if you're in a place where you don't yet know? So those are just some of the things I have teed up top of mind that I'm going to be focused on. But Blake, let me turn it back to you.
Yeah, that's great. So I'm going to summarize some of that, and then we'll start grabbing some questions from the group. So a couple of things. One is, make sure you're either selling or watching your cash, right? So it's two primary functions. On the slow down vendors and pay faster, like we're hearing that, but I think what was interesting is to say, like, go the step further and put the contract in place or the statement of work. Like, yes, like I think, in general, like I believe in handshakes and stuff, but when there's money on the line, it's better to get the paper right the first time. And people understand that and expect that. I think you also brought up a really good point about the psychology of this, because you get to choose how you respond to anything in life. And you can choose to be chaotic or you can choose to be calm, and either one is contagious. So I appreciate that. So one of the questions from the group and right now is, so how can product-based businesses compete with Amazon in a time like this? I'll tell you one thing: don't buy 17,000 bottles of hand sanitizer. That's one way you'll not be able to compete. But Frank, any tips for folks that are product-based businesses right now? And then Liz, I may need you to forward them up because I'm having a hard time seeing them if there are others.
Yeah, so great question. So without knowing what the product is, I think my first question is, how different is it than everything else on the Amazon marketplace? If you're selling something that is very clearly a commodity, I'll be honest, that's outside my purview. I'm not sure what that. I've never been in a business that sold a commodity product at like skinny margins, because I feel like that is less about the product and more about the effectiveness of marketing. And I'm not particularly aware of marketing on Amazon. It does seem to be a trick to it about how you structure the name of the product and the language, but I'm not really sure of that. So let me presume that it's a more differentiated product, that you're the only one that produces it, more custom. Then that really, to me, that is about how excited are your customers about your product. And in that case, you really got to get those referrals going. Most of my business, I do almost no marketing, almost really none. What I'm doing now is probably all the marketing I'm going to do this month. Almost all my business comes from referrals. It comes from people who know our clients, and then someone asks where they get their software built, and they come to us to either build a particular product or serve as their entire outsourced technology arm for product development. And so for us, it's about differentiation. It's not marketing. It's not keywords. It's not social media. It's that referral pipeline. And I think if you've got a differentiated product, that's where I would look. Blake, I'll turn it back to you.
That's great. Thanks. So on the marketing side, if you, my recommendation is, if you haven't bought the book Story Brand, go to storybrand.com and sign up for their emails and their podcast, because it's a phenomenal way to market. The general gist is that your customers are here and you're the guide. So make it all about them and solve their problems, and put it into really succinct messages. So Liz, are there other questions? And if not, I've got a handful more for Frank.
Yes, absolutely. And actually, I did want to ask a follow-up question to the one that we just had, not in marketing, but for non-essential, essentially, non-essential businesses, right? Whether it be product or services, how can people position themselves in an uncertain time or a time of crisis with their clients and customers to not only maintain those clients and customers, but also to maybe to rev up that kind of referral word of mouth network from their current clients to get in front of new clients, potential new customers?
Yeah, it's a couple thoughts. First of all, every business is essential. Every product is essential. I totally refute any idea that no matter what you're doing, even if it's entertainment focused, even if people tend to use discretionary money, the reason people spend their discretionary money on your product is because it gives them joy. And so, I mean, I spent over a decade in entertainment software. You would think, video games aren't essential. They aren't essential until you're quarantined in your house for 21 days. And then you find they're pretty darn essential. And so I tend to think, I think you can always make a needs-based case for every product, no matter what it is. Now, from how to get your folks to do referrals, I mean, there are certainly the more obvious ways. Like you offer some kind of reward or benefit, but I don't think that really gets it done. I mean, unless you're truly just selling widgets, I'm not a huge fan of that. I think really the bigger question for me is, what is that relationship you have with a customer? Tell me about it, right? Tell me, do you talk to them? Are you able to message them? If you're sending them emails, your email system should tell you whether they read your email or not. If they are all reading your email, they are really interested in what you have to say, and they will be very amenable. And then what do? You ask. You say, do you know anyone that can be a fan? Forward this email to them. You just put it right there in the spot. So that's what I think. Blake?
Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, one, just like make a needs-based case. I love that attitude of everything is relevant, and you need to make the case. Like that's being like that's entrepreneurship at its core. The other thing that you called out was just simply asking and being explicit. Oftentimes folks that are, after having spent a career in the military, we're not used to asking. We're not comfortable asking. It is expected. People expect you to ask. And the more clear, the more straightforward you are, the better responses you're going to get. Liz, I'll turn it to you, and let's take a couple more questions, and then we'll wrap up.
Absolutely. Yes. And I would argue that, also people said board games, non-essential, right? I have a very vast collection of board games, and I would say that those are extremely essential right now because I've used them more in the past 7 days than the past year. So I just love that point, of these product-based businesses thinking about that in terms of that, and then turning it into their messaging. So another, question we have, Frank, from our members are that when you're an independent contractor that is not an employee of a company, sometimes you are the first one to be laid off or not hired, for the time being. So how can you create and pursue new opportunities for yourself and find those in this time, especially because we're all doing that virtually?
Yeah, no, great question. So I have a couple thoughts on that. If you are an employee or a contractor, I think I have there may be some slightly different advice, but it all starts with a basic thing. I don't care whether you're an employer or contractor, you're always looking for a new job or a new client. And even if you're a W-2 salaried employee, you are one COVID virus away from not being one. And so because of that, you don't think of it. I think one of the mistakes that military folks have is they have this expectation that a job lasts the way their service in the military may have lasted. That's not the case. Businesses have a bottom line to meet, and it's absolutely ruthless. If they are unable to meet it, you will bear the consequences of that. So whether you're a 1099 contractor who may be always on a hunt for new clients, or an employee, I think you should always be thinking about, where is my next landing page? Where do I land next? And I think the day to do that is the day after your first day at the job you're currently in. You never stop looking. How to do it now during this time period? That's an interesting question. I don't know that I have a great answer. I think if I was a contractor, if I was like a consultant, I think my focus would be on how easy and effective I am at operating remotely. And I think I would lead with that, because I bet there's a lot of people who aren't comfortable with it. And being able to say, I can handle this would be great. How to job search right now? Transparently, my sense is I think the hiring pipeline is currently off, is my sense. There's no job hiring right now.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I actually have one more question for our members that I want to sneak in, Blake, if that's okay.
Great. Please, yes.
So James asked, I've been working on a gig eco product that is based on in-person interaction. Would you delay launch in the midst of the global pandemic or pivot?
Yeah, so a couple thoughts. I don't think no matter what your product is, unless your product is like hand sanitizer or N95 masks or, survival food, obviously I would delay any product launch. The only exception might be like a video game on the Steam App Store. This might be, or the mobile app stores. That might be a great time to launch because everyone's at home and has nothing to do. I would tend to think I would delay. I don't see a pivot. A pivot is because you realize your core product isn't going to get you where you need to be. So why did we pivot at Challenge Games? Because we realized building games for mobile was going to generate a nice, slow, linear growth curve, and that was not what our investors wanted. So we had to go somewhere that was growing, a market that was growing, logarithmically, just Facebook. That's a pivot. Why? We were in the wrong place. We need to go somewhere new. I don't know that right now you are in the wrong place. The market isn't conducive to your launch right now, but this isn't going to be forever, one would presume. And so since this is not a forever change, then I don't know why you would be thinking about pivoting. I would just think about delaying. Again, you would go to pivot if the market conditions will never return to the way they were. But again, without knowing more about your product, I can't guesstimate that. Blake?
All right. Well, thank you to Frank for taking the time to be a part of this conversation today. You said a couple of things I want to share back to our audience. One, just always be looking for a new job or new opportunities. I think one of the things that can hamper us is this curse of loyalty. And let me be very clear about that. It is good to be loyal. It is not good to be selfless when you are trying to promote yourself and your company and support your family. So there's selfless and there's selfish and then there's self-interested. So I think you should be very clearly self-interested and understand what is best for you, what is best for your family, what is best for where you want to go, and always be looking out for those opportunities. So Frank, that's a great call out to that. Couple of really good points was, right now you should either be selling or watching your cash. And if you're not selling, you're watching your cash. And if you're watching your cash, then, figure out when you can sell. The other one, just, never accept that your product is not needed, right? Like entertainment right now, people, are spending money on it. People are spending money on all kinds of things right now. And, creating that needs-based case is going to be really important to that. And being explicit and asking, right? Right now, we are going all in because we know all of you are going all in. So understand that you're not alone. Understand that there is a community of folks in this veterans and residents cohort and across the country of entrepreneurs who are doing this. So, I think what I want to leave folks with is this will pass. We don't know when. But we want to prepare to respond quickly, and then we want to be able to rebound as fast as possible. So know that the world needs great leaders right now, and this community has the ability to step up and do that. I'm so thankful for entrepreneurs like Frank to be able to share their story and say, hey, I've been through it. We went through the financial crisis. We went through 9/11, and we're doing this now, and we're going to come out stronger and better than ever. So thank you to Frank. You can go to smarterreality.io. That's smarterreality.io to check out Frank and his company. So share that. And then my charge to you all is one, lean on each other. And two, comment on the Launch Lab community on the opportunities and challenges you're facing, so that we can continue to bring in great guests like Frank to share their stories. So with that, Liz, anything else?
If I have a moment, Blake, just to give one last thought,
Please,
if I may.
last word.
Please do.
So
Yes.
last thought on this. So as I was getting ready for this call, I was looking at information about, what were people worried about 4 or 5 months ago? What were they thinking about? They were concerned about the economy. They were concerned about technology, things like AI and data privacy. They were concerned about water. They were concerned about potential war. We had the impeachment. Nothing about a biological infection. Nothing about a virus. Nothing about COVID-19. Even going back into the early part of the year when Wuhan was being completely shut down, when they were driving trucks up and down the streets spraying bleach, we didn't really see the impact it might have. And here's why I think this matters to the military folks here. We know, we live in that environment, right? We live in it for years, ready for whatever might come. Not everyone has that level of resiliency, flexibility. And so this is, I look at this time not as a threat to you, but look at it as an opportunity, this opportunity in crisis to both step up and lead, as well as get your company into a great position. So with that, I'll turn it over to Blake. If anyone wants to follow up with me, I'm just at, my email is just at frank@smarterreality.io, and I'd be happy to talk to anyone. Blake, I'll turn it back to you for any final thoughts.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It's true. Focus on your family, focus on your companies, and know that there is a community of folks that are in your corner that want to see you be successful. We want to tell your stories. We want to share your tools. You can go to bunkerlabs.org/all-in to see real-time resources, whether it's from the SBA. JP Morgan Chase just announced a $50 million philanthropic effort to support small businesses. So there are things that are out there, but we want to know from you, and we want to share your stories. So with that, thank you to everybody, and let's go all in.
Thank you both. And I will see all of you in about 10 or 15 minutes with our Boston City leader, Polly Pachota, who's going to be sharing a healthcare industry opportunity that she has that our community can support. So see you guys then.
All right. Thanks, y'all.